Now this is buffer time. Respect.
What is buffer time? Is what buffer time?
And we're here.
Exactly. Hello, buffer timers. Taking over as your regularly scheduled host for this evening because I picked the episode that we're going to talk about. We're going to look at that day that Cisco danced with the devil, but it wasn't in the pale moonlight. That's another episode. And of course, talking about the season 6 classic Waltz. But first we can go around and introduce ourselves as we do. I'm Scott of Opinions No One Cares About.
I'm Dustin from here on a channel that used to be Best of Trek.
Yeah, someone's going to take this over. I'm so far behind.
And my name is Vanessa, and I host a YouTube channel called I Love That Star Trek.
All right, well, I guess Scott's got a little too much lag to host this thing, but it is his topic. Thank you, Scott, for choosing one of the best episodes of DS9 for us to mess around with here this week. And also, hello, Del. Okay.
Hello, Del.
What's up, Del?
In the opening monologue, is Ben speaking to Dukat paying enough for his crimes from a place of a man that's lost his wife, like Dukat lost Zial?
I mean, he probably is trying to reach that sort of human part of him as like a family man and a father. Yeah. I feel weird saying like humane though, because Dukat isn't human.
It's a way for him to establish inroads because he knows that Cisco is his best chance of getting off of this planet. And because it's Dukat, it's hard not to view every word or action from the most selfish interpretation possible. So to establish an emotional connection, he is attempting very nakedly to establish some kind of long-lasting friendship, and seems definitely hugely hurt when Cisco says, "I'm not your friend." It's shocking that he's shocked, but he is that like Cisco is not into it. So this is like a first step in saying, thank the gratitude that he expresses about, taking care of Zial, the grief at the loss and everything. All of it is emotional manipulation, all of it, because right before Zial died, Dukat was like about to disown her, and what was like busted up when his subordinate shot Zial, but it kind of worked out because she's a source of shame for him. So
now what I had noticed and why I had thrown this question in here, I hadn't really noticed it before in this particular scene, but every time before this in the series when Ben is talking to Dukat, he's always talking to him professionally and kindly when he can. But this was the first time it felt like he was saying something from the heart and meant it to Dukat. Like, I'm so sorry for your loss. And it felt like it came from the same place that the loss of his wife hit him.
Well, first time for everything. And it may have, even though he's not in that place anymore. He knows what it's like to lose someone like that.
Right. It's.
I don't know if fascism wins much to having real friends.
The thing is about that, Del, is like, at what stage of life are we talking about? Because I don't know if anybody's read A Stitch in Time, where it sort of expands on the Cardassian homeworld and how they're raised, but familial ties aren't super warm feeling, especially if you're a guy, and especially if you're trying to get enlisted in the Cardassian army, and work your way up to like something like the Obsidian Order, like Garrick did. there's not a lot of warmth there. So friends are just people that you um suspect the least of betraying you, but that's not nothing. So it's not like friendship is sort of like in huge scare quotes. I don't know, even so, like, because of the way that they structure relationships, I don't think friendships would have made a difference for Ducat.
I think similar to Trump, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's also kind of like a.
oh, go ahead, Scott.
I was saying that's also like a shining example of it. Garrick working his way into the Obsidian Order. His dad ran the Obsidian Order. He had an in, and things were still difficult for him because of the way like Cardassian family is.
Yeah, like in the book though, it wasn't. He was told that he was raised by somebody else. They like let some other person raise him, and then told him later that that was his father. He didn't find out until much later. So he wasn't raised under the impression that the head of the Obsidian Order was his father.
So to Dell's question, I think Ducat's a lot like Trump in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously the cult of personality that both try to build. Trump doesn't have any friends. He just has sycophants that will do his bidding for money or power or prestige. And it's the same way with anybody around Ducat. I don't think, I mean, I'm trying to think whether Damar might have actually been a real friend, because he, like, even when he's already got everything that he needs, he's still in season 7 of DS9 lets Ducat get away with some stuff and gives him more than he deserves at that point. So yeah, I wanted to say that he doesn't have any friends and he never will, but maybe he had one.
But also, like, that friendship had a function, and Ducat was always Damar's superior. So it's like, was he letting him get away with it, or was it more like, he's my superior and I don't have much of a choice but to let him get away with things?
Well, I mean, at that point, no, because like Ducat was already on the outs with the Dominion, and like he gave him access to a few things there in season 7 that he didn't have to. So maybe Damar was an actual friend, and the only one that Ducat ever had.
It was the booze. I think it was the Canar.
But the only difference with that, Dell, I don't think Stephen Miller is actually. I don't think Trump has any real friends. I don't think even there's that level between Stephen Miller and Trump. I think there was more friendship and more real bond between Damar and Ducat.
Like, I also see Garrick as trying to genuinely try to charm people. I don't see Trump ever doing that. He's just terminally comfortable with being himself, as unpleasant as that is. And people find it charming because it seems authentic. But I don't think it's conscious. I think it's just somebody who has so much privilege, he doesn't have to consider how he impacts other people.
So the next question we had was, what did Ducat hope to get from Sisko by provoking him?
That is an excellent question, because the fact that he's doing it the whole time doesn't make any sense. Maybe it's just like a Cardassian thing. Like, because in Empok Nor, Garrick keeps needling O'Brien about being the hero of Setlik 3. And it's like they have some psychological need to get under humans or just other species' skin.
I'm gonna guess that the way that Cardassia is structured socially, and also it's sort of somewhat similar to the Romulans, where it's like your public facing face is not who you really are. And he was really trying to get to, because I do think on some level, Ducat respects Sisko, and he wants his respect. and to even get in the ballpark of that, he needs to know how he really feels first. And like, because he can't it's like he's trying to feign humility by asking him, but really it's just like, I know that you don't really, aren't, you're just being painfully polite.
Yeah,
And
I
he
think
wants to
Dell.
like be as he really wants Cisco to be his friend. But like, yeah.
I don't think it's quite
Uh-huh.
that. I mean, one part of it is what Dell said, legitimacy. That's that's the easy answer. Part of it's not even that he wants Ben to be his friend. He just wants Ben to say that he'll be his friend. And I think that comes from the place of Ben being the embodiment of like the Bajorans being their emissary. So if he can get the emissary of the Bajorans to bow to him, then it's worth all the statues that he never had on Bajor.
Oh gosh,
Like getting one
not the
last
statues.
win, a post occupation. Like, it just hurt his ego so much that he's fallen from the as Josh put it, stature, and
Yeah.
being able to, kill people on a whim or imprison people on a whim. Like, he had the world at his fingertips, literally, and not anymore.
All right. I'm not sure where you were going with this question, Scott, but was there really a Lieutenant McConnell?
I don't know. I just kind of questioned Ducat's story of like how they get off the ship. Like, I don't
Oh,
honestly, even in like the worst situation, I couldn't have seen somebody letting him out of the brig for fear of what might have happened. So yeah, somebody helping him to get to an escape pod or whatever, and then conveniently taking shrapnel to the head. I wouldn't be surprised if that shrapnel was in Ducat's hand at the time,
I had
if
never
he was
thought
real.
about that, but that seems true. Yeah, Ducat probably just killed whatever. He was probably a real person because Ben seemed to like at least acknowledge that he might have known who that was. So yeah, Ducat probably killed them before they got off the ship. Okay. Is the delusion version of
Yeah.
Wayoon the most interesting version of Wayoon in DS9?
Well, I mean, you got the one in what is it? I know this. Treachery, Faith in the Great River, the one who like doesn't follow
Defected.
the standard protocol and wants to defect, and he's more interesting than like the rest of the Wayoons. But this one, the product of Ducat's imagination, yeah, he might be more interesting than that.
Well, Wayoons are, kind of detached, kind of Bill Maher-ish. Just snide, arrogant
Yeah.
sounding, um, smug. Uh, and this one is much more pointed and seems to be like very direct with Ducat, which I think, that that kind of human connection may be something he values, where people are, you know, genuinely angry, genuinely sad or whatever. I think that's part of why he provokes Cisco too, is to just have that like genuine emotion coming back at him, because he's just getting like, you know, uh and from Wayoon too. I do think that this is the most interesting one, but it's
Oh,
Jeffrey Combs, so
yeah, that could be like because on like some level he realizes he's a little crazy because he's got these characters showing up out of nowhere, and he wants to get a reaction out of Sisko because that will be a genuine reaction from someone else and not something he's just cooking up in his head.
And this is just playing one of my favorite scenes from the episode. Just Kira just shh. That's probably the best of all of the things that come out of his imagination.
And I get the sense that this isn't the first time that he's had arguments like this in his head. I'm sure that he has this experience often. He has a lot to process and no one to process it with, because it's not like he's going to therapy.
Oh, that's a good point. You think he's like, especially when like he came back to DS9 and it was Tarak Nor again, and Kira worked under him, that he fantasized conversations between them.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Like, we've all fantasized conversations with people in our heads, right? Please tell me I'm not the only one. And then you get mad when the real conversation doesn't go the way you rehearsed it. Did I just expose something about myself?
Was this the episode? Was this before or after the episode where Dukat and Kira end up in a cave together? No, it has to be way after.
Way later. Later.
It's way after, yeah.
I imagine that that's playing in his head too, because it's almost like a mirror of what happened before with Kira in the cave.
Yeah, I mean, at least in this one, Sisko doesn't end up pulling spines out of his ass like Kira does.
Exactly.
That was some weird psychosexual bits.
I mean, there's that one picture where Kira is standing behind Dukat pulling out the spines, and it is angle-wise diabolical.
He's all... Yeah.
Yeah, I do have conversations that I wish I had in my head as sort of, but I try not to get stuck there, because I know that I'll just ruminate forever. And I think Dukat has no outlet but to ruminate. That is his life now.
Yeah, and I definitely like this idea that he's like always had this inner monologue. It's just now it's coming out because he's lost it.
He has nothing to distract him. There's no, hollow suites or anything. It's just him and Sisko in a cave. That's it.
So taking us out of the cave for a minute, is there an ongoing friction between Worf and the others after the disagreement following Kira's orders?
Yeah, I really wondered about that.
I mean, he kicked Bashir off the bridge. He shouldn't even be there anyway, but I mean, that was tense.
That is true, but I feel like even at this point, there's been at least one situation or so. I think Picard must have asked at some point, we're about to go and do this thing that we're not supposed to do. Isn't that like the plot of Insurrection? And Worf was on board.
Yeah.
So he could have very, very easily just misheard an order.
Yeah, that happens. I feel like that's a plot device that's been used before. Oh, did you hear that? No, I didn't hear anything. I think that is convenient cover, but for whatever reason, to sort of underscore his Klingonness, he's like, I'm going to do as I'm told. Like, okay.
Well, I think it's more than that. I mean, it goes back to like Spock's message of the goods of the good of the many, or the good of the one. And what I can't believe is Bashir, the most analytical mind on the ship, who's like usually calculating lives and how it turns out, and what we saw with him and the other augments. He's like, well, forgive me if I don't consider your honor over Captain Sisko's life. Worf's following orders that are about 10,000 soldiers' lives versus Cisco's potentially 1 life, and he might be dead. They
And
don't even know.
but he's
You
the
can't.
he's the emissary.
Yeah.
I think there's a
Not to,
little
not
more
to any of
stake.
these people, though. He's
Right.
just their captain, and granted, he's their captain. They want to find him, but you've got 10,000 other lives on the line
Hmm.
that you've got to go protect other than find Captain Cisco. So Worf absolutely did the right thing, and I have no idea why they wrote Bashir like,
Yeah.
oh,
But
Yeah.
it seems weird.
he's the Cisco.
Maybe they wrote the stakes kind of awkwardly to, I guess because they're in the middle of the Dominion War, they can't just say, oh, there's like a shipment of blah blah berries that we have to go count anymore. Like it has to be something having to do with the war. So
No vaccine. They're not carrying an antidote or procuring a vaccine this time.
yeah, antidote
So
or
that's
vaccine,
something.
just interchangeable.
Yeah. Sure.
We kind of already answered this, but what drives Ducats need for Ben's approval?
Hmm.
Damn.
I think it's his biggest competition over power over DS9. That's why, Ducat takes such an interest in DS9 specifically, like taking over that station specifically, even past the point of practicality for the Dominion to care. Like, and I think it's jockeying for power, but also I think yeah, like I mentioned before, just a complete lack of emotional contact. Having anything, even anger, even somebody yelling at him, like it's something.
Yeah, nobody's
Yeah.
gonna yell at you when you're the one in charge.
Yeah, I mean, he's just the yin to his yang, and it's just a need, I guess. I don't really know where it comes from because I don't understand this level of narcissism truly.
Yeah, it's definitely
Oh, yeah.
narcissism has no. I mean, the way that you heard him justify the genocide of Bajorans, the way that the steps that he took away from, oh, it wasn't my fault, it was the Bajorans' fault,
But I actually
for
prevented more lives
yeah,
from being lost.
just like his perception is so like, I did the best I could with a bad situation, but on the scale of, killing millions of people and giving racist justifications and all of that. So it's just the level of narcissism is just inconceivable. And all he has right now to accumulate is social capital. And because Cisco refuses it, it just like short circuits him. Like he can't even convince somebody that like, took care of his daughter to make inroads. Like nothing. There's just nothing there. I think he's just super isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know where it comes from. That drive, other than like, well, I'm a character and I'm written this way, and he's my good and I'm his evil. It works on that level pretty well, but I don't know where that need comes from.
I mean, if it's that, he used to be the one in charge, he had all the power, and just feels some weird need to measure up to the guy that took a lot of his power and, now has it. So you could just say he's trying to measure genitals and Cisco's having none of it.
I remember one of the most poignant parts of DS9 to me was, I think it was prior to Where the Warrior, when they took over DS9 and took it back from the Dominion. Prior to that, as they were evacuating, Cisco put a baseball on the desk as a way of saying, I am going to come back. You know, like this is not me completely forfeiting the station to you. This is me taking a vacation while you have your jollies or whatever. And I think when Cisco took it back, he just it's another ego destroying event for him.
Absolutely. So I had brought the
Well,
Kira.
Todd did that to himself when he disrespected the baseball.
Yeah, we've talked about that a bunch before. How like the baseball is really the symbol for the war, and who controls it and who respects it is who's gonna win. I brought the Kira picture back here because here's a really specific thing I hadn't really thought of till this watch through. Does the Kira manifestation imply that some part of Dukat knows he's a bad person?
I mean, yeah, maybe. We know his feelings on Bajorans. And then you got that one Bajoran who's a perpetual thornness in his side and has like worked for him at this point, and she's almost his wrestling with a dog. She's almost his moral center.
I don't think he knows that he's a bad person. I think he's been told that. I think his actions demonstrate that, but I don't think he's internalized at all that he is a bad person. The way that he justifies his actions it puts so much plausible deniability between himself and his actions. It's disgusting. Like there's so much, and I think that's part of narcissism is like the karmic bill is so big that you can't possibly take account of all of it, because him taking in that he's a bad person would just destroy him. The way he carries himself, the audacity, the arrogance, the smugness, so like, I'm the hottest shit in the room every time he walks in there. And he still dresses like a legate, it's like he could take that shit off and he doesn't. Like, no matter how far he falls in terms of rank or stature, he keeps that shit on, I don't think he knows. I think he's been told that, but I don't think he like understands it, that he is a horrible person.
Speaking of which, side note, we had kind of talked in chat this week about he's wearing his Gull like armor. Does Starfleet not have standard prison uniforms in the TNG DS9 era? Like, why would he still be wearing that and not some kind of jumpsuit or whatever?
I don't feel like we ever see prisoners in some kind of jumpsuit.
Not in that era, but in Disco we did, at least. When why do I want to say Morgan? What's up, Michael? My God. It's only been like a year since the show went off the air.
Okay.
Morgan, Captain Morgan. When she's in prison with all the other prisoners, they all have standard jumpsuits. In context is for kings.
I guess Cisco doesn't even want to invite the possibility of seeing Dukat naked, so he's belaying that until they arrive. Like, I'm breaking protocol with the uniform shit.
Yeah, no, to what Norman's saying, like, he was just kind of wearing something similar, just like standard civilian clothes, kind of like what Michael Eddington, we see him in when Cisco breaks him out of prison. Those are at least like similar. They seem like just normal, kind of loose civilian clothes, but who let Cardassian legates keep his Gull gear? That's weird. But as to the original question, I think since Kira is a manifestation from Dukat's mind, I really do think there is some part of them that knows he's a bad person, But he's got these two other parts of his personality in Wayun and Damar that are constantly battling at it, and the 2-on-1, like that negative emotion always wins for him. But some part of him does know that what he's doing is wrong.
The way that Kira is written
until it gets to a little bit later, and then he's visited or possessed whatever by the pod race, who are like, oh yeah, we know you're a bad person, we don't care, we just want to use you. And then it's like everything he's done is even further justified. It's like, yeah, I was a bad person my whole life, and look, now I'm an emissary for gods.
The way that Kira's written to me seems as though it's like the part that judges himself, but also I think it's purposeful that she is written to be very poisonous. Like, every opportunity she gets, she is throwing venom in his ear. And while, Kira hates his ass, I don't think she would have the energy that this manifestation of Kira has. Not to say that they have to be a one-to-one, but like, I think this caricature serves as a way to be like, that freaking, nuisance of a person. The way that he regards her is like, leave me alone. Like, it is giving voice to what Kira actually believes, but I think it's more regarded as like, I don't want to hear that. Like, it may be true, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Norman's thought here is interesting, that like, it's like if you put a Starfleet officer on trial, they would probably be in their Starfleet dress uniform for the trial. So, like, okay, all right, I'd buy that, I guess.
Like on TOS, court martial, I think they're in their dress uniforms, right?
And in Ad Aspera per Aspera in Strange New Worlds, they're in dress too.
Right around the same time.
So here's something that I have never understood about this episode. After leaving Sisko on that planet, why does Dukat let the Defiant know where he is?
There's probably just enough respect there to not want him dead, like have him stranded and cut off, so he feels like kind of the way Dukat felt after falling so far from power. But just enough respect that maybe he wants to give him a way back. They might have also been just that, oh yeah, Sisko's the emissary, we can't just leave him to die on some random planet.
I think he like Dukat has not given up on making a connection with Sisko. I think that's why he keeps him alive. Like he doesn't want this to be the way that they kill each other. That he's like got a broken arm and stuck on a planet, crash landed. Like, he doesn't want that kind of final battle. He wants a real final battle.
Yeah, I mean, truly, the answer is the plot, because the pirates and the prophets have got to have their final battle with their chosen emissaries in a cave of fire. This is not a cave of fire.
Spoiler alert on a 30-year-old.
It's just a cave. Oh yeah, sorry for anybody that oh geez, I just ruined the ending. Oh man.
It's like so much that, like, even in the short amount of time between this and the season finale, there's so much that happens that, like, even saying that still doesn't quite spoil it. It's really it gets almost.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, but like, it's also just.
Though this is the last time for almost a season and a half that Dukat and Ben cross paths, so that's pretty big.
Yeah, Dukat just crosses with everybody after this.
And caves.
Caves.
Yep, caves. This is probably the best of all the cave episodes. And like, man,
Mhm.
this is just sometimes you can cram two characters into a phone booth. As long as you give them a good enough script and they have good enough chemistry, that's all you need. You don't need any more.
That sounds like Bill and Ted, what you just said.
Right?
Excellent.
There's two guys in a phone booth.
Anyway, wild stallions.
Station.
Station.
All right. So here's a weird one. Does Dukat actually deserve a statue on Bajor for unaliving fewer Bajorans?
Yeah, oddly, no. No, you don't. This isn't America. You don't honor statues to that commemorate the enemy. Did I get too real for a second there?
Well, we do have Civil War statues
That's what I'm
around,
saying.
and those motherfuckers lost. Confederate
Yeah.
statues, that is.
Now with fascism, now
Meanwhile,
with fewer deaths.
In Germany, I believe they have laws against that because they learned their lesson.
God, what would it like? Could he? Yeah, that level of narcissism, it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. What does he expect them to do after, like, they actually are going to put effort to put his visage somewhere and it's going to remain unscathed for as long as it's standing? The fact that he really believes that is wild. Yeah, exactly. Bajoran eggs. Exactly, Del. Exactly.
He's as true a believer as Trump is in a $300 million ballroom.
Yeah, I'd like to think nowhere on Bajor would they be dumb enough to do something like. Sorry. I'd just like to think that nowhere on Bajor would they be dumb enough to do something like the thing I wrote down here, the Stone Mountain down in Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah. Carved into a mountain are the visages of Confederate war generals, supposedly on the spot where the modern-day KKK was founded, and dedicated in 1972 by the vice president at the time.
Yeah, and of course,
I don't think we learned
it's on sacred ground. It's on sacred ground, as is Mount Rushmore.
Oh, actually, oh shit. Sorry.
Yeah, it's wild to think that you like just the audacity to put your face like 20 feet high on the side of a mountain. I just don't understand it. Like, even if you do good, like, what the fuck?
Just name a hospital wing after him. People that do good.
Too much to hope for. Too much to hope for. Was the juxtaposition of Dukat and Sisko from their first scene together to their last on purpose?
I asked that because it was kind of layered, because you start off this scene right here where Sisko's got all the quote unquote power and Dukat is a prisoner, and cut to the end and Dukat's taking off with slightly more power because Sisko's stranded on a planet with a broken arm. And it's not just that. The very first shot of it has Sisko standing and Dukat down on his knees, and I never understood why, even now. And then again, cut to the end, and Dukat is standing while Sisko's on his back.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. That's exactly it.
It's supposed to be a power reversal, however momentary, however fleeting. Like,
right.
It's so disgusting and pathetic to solicit some kind of emotional connection or some semblance of emotional connection where it's like the only reason you're there is because you crash landed, and the only reason you were able to overpower Sisko is because his arm is broken.
And did they even crash land? Because, I mean, Ducat gets that
They-
shuttle flying, no problem.
Right.
Did Ducat strand them there
Right.
purposely? It
Mm.
seems like that might be the case, that he
Well.
just wanted to mess with Ben and force him to acknowledge his greatness.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild to consider, but that makes sense because he definitely has had ruminating thoughts about what he was going to say to Cisco if they ever got into a room alone together and were, trapped there, I'm sure. And he's like,
Right.
this is the perfect opportunity to have that conversation. God, it's so gross, so slimy. I'm going to tell you about how I did my best not to genocide people and they just fought back like the idiots that they were, So Zionist delusion, white supremacist delusion coming
And
out
if
of this
only
guy.
they'd just let us do whatever we wanted, we wouldn't have killed any of them.
Yeah. If they
Or
fought
not as many.
Yeah, fighting back. Like, why did they do that? Why don't they just let us enslave them and exploit them and kill them? Why are they fighting back? That's so stupid. And their pride. It's like when he was getting into the physical attributes of Bajorans as like things that he hated, it just turned my stomach. But it reminded me so much of how people talk about others, especially in the Trump administration. But
Yeah, I was
certainly
gonna
not
say,
unique. Yeah.
rewatching it this time, all
There
I
it
saw
is.
was Stephen Miller talking to Cisco there. So
That is fair.
all right, we have one more question. It was pretty much related, and I think kind of already answered. Was Ducat always crazy and hit it better, or is all this post-sacrifice of angels behavior an unexpected psychotic break? I mean, I think the answer is kind of both. It's I hadn't thought about it this way till we got talking about it tonight. That yeah, I think this inner monologue that you see coming out with Kira and Wayun and Damar, he's always had. It just hasn't been in the forefront, and we haven't seen that side of him. So yeah, like the break brought it out more, and he's more aware of it, and we're definitely aware of it now as the audience.
And
But yeah, I think it's always been there.
and his wife left him.
That was in like season 4 or 5.
Right.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was another step towards, like at the beginning of the series, he had some status. Like he was no longer, running Bajor, but he had some semblance of status. And as Zeal came into being, it started to step down. And then you saw him like piloting a barge and, resenting it and like falling further and further away from where he was. And I think that definitely helped. But I think he was able to live inside his little delusional reality until the titles and the prestige started to fall away, and then he has to actually face himself, and he can't possibly do that. So he's using Cisco as a life raft.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was like band-aided a little bit when Cardassia joined up with the Dominion, and but then of course all of that fell apart, and the daughter he was actually admitting to, who wasn't around because it was actually safer for her to be away from him and on DS9, gets murdered by his more or less best friend.
Well, she was on Breen. Or enslaved by the Breen.
Yeah, it wasn't Breen, but it was a Breen world. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ironic that being enslaved.
Well, yeah, but I mean, after like.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go on. God, this is so slow.
No, Scott, did you have more to that thought? Because otherwise, we're just gonna do some out of tens here.
No, I'm good.
Oh,
Getting any better for me, so.
sorry. I was just pointing out that I just thought it was ironic that she was safer with in that mining situation than being with Ducat even for 5 minutes. That's all.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. She's way safer when Pulaski stays as the CMO on Enterprise D, which is my Friday video this week coming up. You wouldn't believe how different the universe becomes just by one woman replacing a different woman for the remaining 5 seasons of TNG. It affects so many things, it's ridiculous. So
Does
tune in for that.
Picard get her pregnant and she keeps the baby away from him? Sorry.
No, but probably Riker's dad does.
Maybe.
I actually didn't throw that in there,
Oh.
but that's probably true. That is very likely true.
Yes.
Kyle,
Anyway,
you dog.
let's pull it back to what we're actually talking about, and let's rank this thing out of 10. This is Scott's baby, so you're going to go first, sir.
Huzzah! All right. So yeah, I picked this episode because I really like it. You're absolutely right, Dustin. You get the right script and the right setting. You put 2 people in close enough quarters, 2 actors who are, right on their game, and they can make it work. And it works really well. And just the power dynamic between the 2 of them, whether established or imagined, just that bit where Ducat, he finally gives the game away and all but admits out loud that Kardashians are fascists, talking about how, we showed up and enslaved the Bajorans because we were so obviously superior to them in every way, and they just couldn't realize that. Why? I tried to kill as few of them as I could, and I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, so you've gone off the deep end. And this is just the start of crazy things he's going to do through the rest of season 6 and 7. And of the crazy things he does going forward, this is actually kind of lowest on the list. And it's just so well done. And honestly, the rest, trying to find him, whatever, almost comes in as just filler, but it still works. So it's not perfection. It's definitely up there, though. So I'm going to give this one a 9.
Nice. Go ahead, Vanessa.
I think it's a tour de force for both of these actors. They really go vacillate in extremes, the both of them. And so much about both of these characters come out feelings about each other, feelings about themselves, but mostly Ducat. Looking inside of a mind that is ironically so hollow and yet so full of himself is horrifying. It is absolutely horrifying. You hear this kind of justification for cruelty from people who were slave masters, from Nazis who said I was just following orders, from Zionists, from IDF soldiers, from just people who think that they are better than the people that they are enslaving, and the enslavement gives that person that is lesser a life that they would never know otherwise, and shouldn't they be grateful, is just absolute insanity to ever say that kind of thing in any of this context. So, to hear that and hear somebody sound like they mean it just is so genuinely stomach turning. The way that this episode resolves makes a lot of sense to me. The way that how Sisko was essentially provoking Ducat to sort of reveal himself, truly reveal himself, after having told him, yeah, I think you're a piece of shit. you know, was a very strategic thing. And the Ducat speaking to different aspects of his own sort of psyche through Wei-Yun and Kira and Damar was just so expertly done. I give it a 9.5.
Nice. You don't give out the big points easily, and neither do I. So I'm going to tell you right before I even get into it, this is a 10 for me. This is a straight up 10 out of 10. Where I have it in my rankings of most of the 900 episodes of Star Trek, it's just outside of the top 25 at number 26. It's an absolute 10 out of 10. Both actors, this is like probably the high point in their careers. It kind of jumps the shark after this moment in the series. Like, season 7's good. The rest of season 6 is good. It's not as good as this, though. This is like the high watermark for the end times of DS9. It blows my mind, like, how good you can take the same dumb cave set they've reused 1,000 times over the course of Star Trek and just put two people in it for almost the entire episode. And it starts with these reasonable, Ben and him like having this nice conversation, and Ben's really sorry and like legitimately sorry that he lost his daughter. And then it devolves into, well, I wasn't that bad. I could have killed more people, to the end being like, you've never seen the kind of carnage that's come before me. They don't know who's their enemy. I'm their enemy. And it devolves in from like a guy that you almost feel pity for and might have believed was actually a good guy to like, by the end of this exactly where Gul Dukat stands. This is an absolute 10 out of 10 banger across Star Trek for me. All right, so Vanessa, what are we doing next week?
A taste of Armageddon.
Just a taste. A little taste.
Just a little taste. People in funny hats, half chaps.
Soup song of Armageddon.
Going into disintegration chambers as the result of a printout. And it's a TOS episode. Some may say middling.
Crimes to fashion crimes.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Well, we'll save my fashion thoughts for next week.
Yeah. Are you going to attempt to make it? Are you?
What, the stupid half pant sash? And then I can do like a relay race against somebody else and see if I die when I trip and fall on my face. But yeah, let's do that. That sounds good.
Yeah, Taste of Armageddon.
All right. Well, Scott, thank you for picking Waltz. This is probably the most high quality episode we're going to get out of these co-host decided episodes here from now until we're done sometime before Christmas. Thank you. And thank you, Vanessa, for joining us. Thank all of you for tuning in. And until we see you again, live long